You ever walk onto your own land and find a building that you never approved, never planned, and definitely never gave permission for? Because that's exactly what happened to me. And what I did next ended up in court, with a judge making a decision that left one very confident HOA board member completely speechless. My name is Daniel. I'm 42, and 3 years ago I bought a quiet piece of land just outside a lakeside development called Ridgeway Pines. Beautiful area, peaceful, and most importantly, outside the HOA boundaries. I made sure of that before signing anything. Survey checked. Deed verified. Boundaries confirmed. I didn't want rules. I didn't want approvals. I just wanted my land to be mine. For a while, that's exactly what it was. Until one morning, I noticed something that didn't belong. At first, it looked like construction materials stacked near the tree line, lumber, tools, a small generator. I figured maybe a neighbor had temporarily placed it there by mistake. I walked closer. That's when I saw the foundation. Concrete. Fresh. On my land. I didn't panic. I didn't yell. I just pulled out my phone and started recording. By the next afternoon, there were workers. Actual workers building a structure like this was completely normal. I asked them who hired them. They gave me a name. Sandra. I already had a feeling. Sandra was on the HOA board next door. The kind of person who talked like every decision she made was final, even when it wasn't her decision to make. I called her. She didn't sound surprised. In fact, she sounded annoyed. She told me the HOA had approved a small community use cabin near the lake for events and storage. She said it like it was already settled, like I was the one catching up late to a plan everyone else understood. I asked her one simple question. Is that cabin on HOA land? She paused, then said, it's in a shared use area. Shared. That word told me everything I needed to know. Because my land is not shared, not legally, not technically, not in any way. I told her to stop construction immediately. She refused. Said the project was already approved, already funded, and already underway. She even told me I was misunderstanding how community spaces work. That was the moment I stopped explaining and started documenting. I called my attorney that same day. We reviewed everything, survey maps, deed lines, county records. There was no gray area. The cabin was 100% on my property. No easement, no agreement, no permission, nothing. We sent a formal cease and desist. They ignored it. Construction continued. And that's when I made my decision. I hired a contractor, not to build, but to remove. Completely. By the time the cabin frame was fully up, I had already filed legal notice giving them a final deadline to remove it themselves. They didn't. So early Saturday morning, we started demolition. Piece by piece. Clean. Controlled. Legal. And right on schedule, Sandra showed up. She didn't walk. She stormed in, screaming about destruction of community property, lawsuits, consequences. I handed her a single document, my property survey. Highlighted. Stamped. Signed. She didn't even read it fully before saying, "This won't hold up in court." I told her calmly, "Good. Let's find out." And we did. 2 weeks later, we were standing in front of a judge. Their argument? That the HOA had historically used that lakeside area, that it functioned as a community extension, that removing the structure caused shared loss. My attorney responded with one sentence that changed everything. Historical use does not override legal ownership. Then we presented the documents: survey, deed, photos of construction. Proof of notices ignored. The judge didn't take long. He looked at Sandra, then at the board's attorney, and said clearly, "This property does not belong to the HOA." It never did. The construction was unauthorized. The demolition was within the legal rights of the owner. Silence. Complete silence. Sandra didn't argue after that. She couldn't. The case didn't just end there. The HOA was ordered to cover all legal fees and reimburse the cost of land restoration. The same project they forced onto my land ended up costing them far more than it ever would have to just ask one simple question in the beginning. The land is clear now. No cabin, no construction, no confusion, just exactly what it was meant to be. Mine. And here's the part most people don't understand. This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't even about the building. It was about a line. A boundary that someone decided didn't apply to them. But boundaries always matter, especially the ones written in law. Because confidence without permission eventually runs into reality. And when it does, it doesn't matter how loud you are, only how right you are.